9 hikers, 1 frozen mountain, and a mystery that's defied explanation for over 6 decades. In February 1959, a group of experienced trekkers vanished in Russia's Ural Mountains. When their bodies were found, the scene was grotesque, chilling, and utterly inexplicable. A torn tent, missing eyes, radiation, and strange lights in the sky. Was it a freak storm? A military cover-up? Something not entirely human? Tonight, we retrace their final steps into the snow-swept silence of Dyatlov Pass, where every answer only raises more questions. Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 28 of Spooky and Kooky.
As always, if you're into anything spooky, kooky, horror, paranormal, conspiracy, even a bit of true crime that we've been covering lately, we do a bit of everything, and this is the podcast for you. So if that sounds like something you'll enjoy, please give us a subscribe to help out our channel.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to be on the little bit of true crime, little bit of conspiracy, mystery bandwagon.
From what it sounds like, yeah.
And we'll be covering the Dyatlov Pass.
Oh, honestly, I'm so happy to be here because it's not my favourite time of the week because we don't do it every week, but it's the thing I look forward to recording days because we always have such a laugh. So I'm really happy to be here, really excited. And we kind of realised when researching some episodes, it's kind of easier to do it separately. And there's some topics that one of us is more interested in than the other or knows more about than the other. So today it's going to be Ellen telling you the story of the Dyatlov Pass. So we're going to be doing the episode that way. So I just get to sit here and
listen
comment
to it
when I want to.
I'm really excited because I have found this case so interesting for so long, and it's so hard not to tell each other, like when it's so hard, guys, not to tell each other.
Because you're the person I would tell a lot of the, like, if I just found it out without researching for this, you're the person I would text and be like, have you ever heard of this? This is so weird. And we would have a discussion about it. So not being able to do that and having to wait for this is why I get so excited. Because I want to tell you about my case. I want to hear about your case.
It's like Christmas.
Yeah.
Every time.
But I'm really excited to hear about the Dyatlov Pass, especially from that teaser. But I don't know anything about it. Never heard about it until you brought it up to me, and then I started seeing it everywhere. Every podcast I listen to, they seem to have covered it, and I've stayed clear of those episodes just for this.
Good.
So yeah, I know nothing about it. Clean slate.
I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on it. Okay, so widely regarded as Russia's greatest mystery, the Dyatlov Pass incident recounts the chilling deaths of 9 student hikers in the Ural Mountains. In 1959, after failing to check in, the group was discovered frozen in subarctic conditions. What makes this case so compelling is the abundance of surviving evidence, photos, diaries, and even a criminal investigation. Yet the truth behind their fate remains unknown. The hikers were found without winter clothing, far from their shredded tent, with no signs of avalanche or natural disaster. Some suffered catastrophic injuries, and disturbingly, some were missing eyes and even one tongue. It seemed officials overseeing the autopsies attempted to bury the truth, framing the tragedy as a mere accident. Strange lights were seen overhead. The Russian KGB descended on the site, cloaking the story in decades of secrecy. 2 narratives emerged: the sparse, questionable official report, and a flood of conspiracy theories, ranging from Soviet cover-ups and military experiments to aliens and the infamous Russian Yeti.
Oh, it's got everything.
It's got it all. The Yeti one, I'll cover it right at the end because it is a bit silly, but I really wanted it. I mean, we all know that we believe in Patty.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe not so much in this case. But the hikers were all students of the Ural Polytechnical University, bonded by their love of challenging nature and members of the university's Explorers Club. Igor Dyatlov, the group's leader, was the most seasoned member of the Explorers Club, and his passion was hiking and hiking alone.
So is his name Dyatlov?
They named it after him.
Ah, okay. I was going to say that's a weird coming to name.
Oh, the chances. Zina Kolmogorova was known for her bright spirit and frequently joined the expeditions. Some speculated she and Igor were romantically involved, but it's more likely that Igor had feelings for her that weren't reciprocated. It's clear that he may have been interested in her because when he was found, there was a picture of her in his pocket. Zina actually liked Yuri Doroshenko, a brave guy from an underprivileged background who, on one trip, confronted a bear with nothing but his hands. Deeply impressing Zina.
Reminds me of the Putin image of him riding on a bear. That is impressive. And he came off the victor.
Fun. Yeah, he didn't get hurt at all.
Did the bear?
No, I think
or
it just
did the
ran
bear
away.
stop her?
I think it just ran, yeah.
Okay.
But that is a move.
I'm imagining him as like a jacked out brick shit house of a bloke.
He wasn't.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Lunda Dubanina, though shy in appearance, was incredibly tough. Once, after being accidentally shot in the leg by a hunter, she continued hiking undeterred, which these people are just literally tough as balls.
It wouldn't be a stretch to say that Russians are built differently.
Yeah. Rustem Slobodin was the group's athlete. That's why when the tragedy unfolded, his father struggled to accept the outcome. He simply couldn't believe that Rustem hadn't survived. Alexander Kolevatov was the quiet one, cool, private and rarely seen in photos. The most mysterious member was 37-year-old Semyon Zolotaryov. Unknown to the group before the trip, he joined weeks before departure, needing one final expedition to advance his career. A decorated World War II veteran and hiking instructor, he quickly bonded with the team. He grew especially close to Nikolay Thibault-Brignol, a mature and serious young man who made friends easily. Yuri Krivonyshenko was known as the group's prankster. His mischievous charm often lightened the mood, but on this occasion it nearly derailed everything. While waiting for their next train for the expedition, he asked Lunda, who was managing the group's finances, for a bit of money to grab something from the cafe. For unknown reasons, she refused, but undeterred, Yuri turned to the crowd, offering an impromptu musical performance in hopes of earning a few coins from passers-by. His antics, however, caught the attention of the authorities. Accused of deception, Yuri was swiftly detained by police, and the others didn't hesitate. They intervened, pleading with the officers to release him. It was a bold move, especially in the Soviet Union, where challenging law enforcement could have serious consequences. Their willingness to stand up for Yuri spoke volumes. It wasn't just camaraderie, it was a deep, unshakable loyalty that bound them together. There was a 10th member, Yuri Yudin, who returned alive. Trusted by the group, he was kind and dependable, but he left the expedition due to back pain, a decision that haunted him for life. Imagine,
He wasn't involved in anything, he just left early, so that's why he survived. He didn't... Okay, that makes more sense.
And then all of his friends died.
Yeah, that would be horrific.
Yeah. In January 1959, the 10 hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, embarked on a 200-mile cross-country hiking expedition through the Urals. Much of their journey was documented in their diaries, along with many photos. 4 days in, they reached Settlement 41, a logging camp. The next day, they arranged for a local to transport their backpacks by horse and cart, but even without heavy gear, it took 7 hours of skiing to reach an abandoned gulag, where they would seek shelter for the night.
What's a gulag?
It's basically like a prison camp, like and they would like make them do manual labour. It's like savage conditions.
I've heard the word before, but that is...
Yeah.
Wait, so they stayed there or just found...
It was abandoned.
Oh,
so-
okay, right, you said abandoned, right. I was going to be
They
like,
just rock up.
they just walk in like, do you have a bed for the night? We'll do some manual labour.
Hiya.
Don't have any money, but I can chop some rocks.
It just comes skiing on it.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Was it like a World War II thing?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure.
I'm
I
asking
think
you too many questions.
Yeah, I don't know too much
okay.
about gulags, but I know anyone who plays like Call of Duty or anything like that.
Probably where I've heard it.
Probably
Yeah.
will know about them, but I'm not an expert. It was here that Yuri Yudin, plagued by severe back pain, made the difficult decision to part ways with the expedition. He embraced his friends one last time, believing it was only a temporary farewell. In just 3 days, everything would change. He lived until 2013, passing away at the age of 75, and still haunted by unanswered questions about that fateful night. At his request, he was laid to rest in Yekaterinburg Cemetery, beside the companions he had lost. Oh, makes me feel a little bit teary. It's really sad. Okay. Despite the relentless snow and unforgiving terrain, the group remained in high spirits, pressing forward with determination. On the 1st of February, they began their ascent through the Outlet Pass, but were soon engulfed by a brutal storm. Howling winds and heavy snowfall quickly turned the landscape into a white void.
Again, Russians are built differently because there is just no way.
There's just no
200
way.
miles
I know.
through that.
Thank you. And they walked. It's not like in one of the documentaries I saw, they retraced the route they took, but they did it on snowmobiles. And even that, they were like, this is really hard. So to walk the whole thing, pretty much.
And ski.
Yeah, well, that's the same, because it's just, you can't really walk, you just would sink through it. So they're
so
kind
you've
of
got
like...
to kind of, is it those things where you've got rope and it's like planks of wood and you just step through the snow on the planks of wood, or are they actually
they're
skiing?
skis. They are skis. But they're not skiing like a skiing holiday skiing.
Yeah, no, it's not fun skiing.
No, it's
but
not fun
they were in
skiing.
high spirits, so they obviously enjoyed it. Again, built differently.
Yeah. With visibility rapidly deteriorating, the team veered off their intended path. Unknowingly, they found themselves on the slopes of the Dead Mountain. Which, I mean...
I'm not going
nothing
anywhere
good
that
comes
has
from
dead
that.
in the name.
Yeah.
Death, dead.
There was
Horror.
the Russian name for it, but I wasn't even going to attempt to pronounce that, because it translates to Dead Mountain.
It's like going to the death zone in Everest.
Yeah.
They don't call it that for no reason.
Yeah, it's not just a little spooky, cool name. The group's final diary entry, written by Dyatlov, read, "Today, the weather is a bit worse with wind and snow. Until now, we walked along the Mansi Trail, which was crossed by a deer hunter not long ago. The hunter didn't follow the beaten trail, and we are now following in his footsteps. Walking is especially hard today. We can't see the trail and have to advance slowly. Tired and exhausted, we started the preparations for the night. We had supper in the warmth of the tent, and it's hard to imagine such comfort somewhere on the ridge with piercing wind, hundreds of kilometres away from human settlements." These words seemed to foreshadow the horror that followed. The following day, the group stashed a supply of food and gear intended for their return journey from Mount Autorten. But the weather turned quickly. Deepening snow and worsening conditions forced them to halt after covering just 1.5 miles onto the slopes of the Dead Mountain. And by dawn, all 9 would be gone. When the hikers failed to return to Yekaterinburg by the 12th of February, there was no immediate panic. Concern first stirred by Rima Kolevatov, sister of Alexander Kolevatov. She began making calls to the university, to the Explorers Club, trying to raise the alarm. It wasn't until the 21st of February, more than a week after the group should have made contact, the first search teams were dispatched. With only a vague idea of the hikers' route, the mission was daunting. The search effort included professionals, military personnel, and fellow students from the university's Explorers Club. Imagine just going out and looking for your friends in that.
That's brave, to be fair.
That is brave.
Brave to go back out
Like
there.
you say, Russians are built different.
Yeah. Well, the fact he reported the weather is a bit worse when there was a literal snowstorm.
I literally can't see.
Yeah.
Like, it's not ideal.
It's not the worst I've seen. And that one geezer's just like, I beat a bear, I can beat some snow.
For those who knew the hikers, hope endured. This was still a rescue, not a recovery. Aerial sweeps were launched alongside ground teams, combing the vast frozen terrain. Days passed before the first clue emerged, a tent partially buried in the snow. Official records state the tent was discovered on the 26th of February by student hikers Boris Slobstov and Mikhail Shravin, accompanied by Ivan Pashin, who lived and worked alongside the Mansi people in the region. Yet Pashin's later testimony painted a slightly different picture. He claimed they were dropped by helicopter on the 23rd of February, and upon descending, they spotted ski tracks, evidence of the hikers' passage. That night, they pitched their own tent nearby, and the following morning, they split into groups to search, and that's when they found it, the tent still holding the hikers' belongings. His account was supported by fellow searcher Cheglakov, who recalled, "On the second day, we found the hikers' tent. It was badly snowdrifted. We did not go inside." Now, I find it mind-blowing that they didn't look inside the tent.
That is weird.
They found the tent and they didn't check that anyone was inside of it.
What do they mean by snowdrifted? Because I can't picture what that would look like. Would it actually physically stop them?
I'll show you a picture of what it looked like.
Oh, brilliant. Because I think if it, like, is there something that's physically stopping them from going in, or they just thought, nah, it's not relevant. It's snowdrifted, so they're probably not in there. I don't know why you wouldn't just check. Oh, come on, like that. I mean, you would still, because it's not completely covered in snow, you could literally cut the top of that.
Or just scrape
the
snow out.
And
it's your friends.
Yeah.
Why would you not look?
It kind of looks like no one would be staying in there if they're alive.
Yeah, but they might not be alive.
Exactly, which is what's weird about it, because why not just check? Because then you don't, if they're in there, you don't then have to go and search for them a lot more in this treacherous weather.
Yeah.
Case closed. That is really weird.
And
was it just those, how many men were there?
4. Maybe more, but 4 is mentioned. So then it took them 2 days, another 2 days for it to officially be reported as found. And even weirder, on the day the tent was officially discovered, so the 26th of February, forestry worker Ivan Pashin reportedly refused to ascend the slope to the hikers' camp, where the helicopter dropped, after they'd been dropped off by the helicopter. And some speculate he might have already heard some unsettling rumours from the local Mansi community. So it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
Does he get backlash about it? Or, like, at the time, did he get backlash about it? Because I don't understand why you wouldn't check in the first place, but then why don't you want to go back there anyway? What rumours was he hearing? Like, was he too scared, or...?
Maybe.
Okay.
So a flashlight sat atop the snow, still intact, which was weird because it wasn't from the search team. And what lay inside the tent only added to the unease. Food supplies remained neatly packed, and blankets were left untouched. Beneath them, carefully arranged, were quilted jackets, storm gear, boots and backpacks, but there was no sign of the hikers.
That tent's quite small for 9 people.
That's
or is
just
it
the
a
top.
lot bigger?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. The presence of the winter clothing and footwear abandoned was deeply disturbing. It's difficult to imagine surviving in the unforgiving terrain of the Ural Mountains, yet the Mansi and Khanty peoples of North and West Siberia have done so for a millennia. Their connection to the land runs deep, shared by generations of tradition and resilience. But by the time Soviet rule took hold, their way of life was under siege. Russian expansion displaced communities, sacred practices were suppressed, and even their shamans faced persecution. Distrust towards Soviet authorities was not uncommon. Despite this fraught backdrop, Dyatlov and his team approached the indigenous culture with curiosity rather than suspicion. Their journals reveal a fascination with the Mansi people, their language, their customs, and the cryptic symbols carved into tree bark along the trail. At one point, the group even coined a slogan for their expedition: "We are in the country of mysterious signs." The Mansi people later reported hearing a distant explosion, something they believe may have triggered an avalanche that struck the hikers' tent. In the chaos that followed, the group fled into the freezing night and ultimately succumbed to the elements.
With none of the stuff.
Yeah. Notably, members of a respected Mansi family joined the search efforts, lending their deep knowledge of the terrain and tracking skills. Yet, despite their assistance, suspicion lingered. As early theories circulated, investigators latched onto a rumour that the hikers had unknowingly trespassed onto sacred Mansi sites and paid a fatal price. When the tent was found, its fabric oddly slashed, the strange cut marks only deepened the scrutiny. For a time, the Mansi people stood at the centre of the mystery. Criminal prosecutor Lev Ivanov initially suspected foul play, and one detail became crucial. Had the tent been slashed from the outside or from within? The answer could unravel the entire mystery. Ivanov believed the only plausible reason for the hikers to abandon their shelter so abruptly was under armed threat. And for a group of that size, it would have taken at least 9 assailants to force them out. As the forensic inquiry deepened, investigators turned their attention to a nearby Mansi family, questioning them about their sacred traditions. The family explained that while they did have ritual sites in the region, these places weren't guarded, nor were outsiders forbidden from entering. Then came the forensic report on the tent. The cuts had been made from the inside, with a blade. That single detail shifted the narrative. It suggested the hikers hadn't been driven out by external attackers, and the investigation into the Mansi people was quickly dropped.
Something happened and they needed to get out the tent then, and slashed it themselves.
But if you see the tent, it looks like it is so savagely ripped, like an animal had ripped it. It's a lot of rip marks.
From the inside?
Yeah. Ivanov and his team were left with a chilling void. If no one was outside the tent, what were they running from?
What was inside the tent? There was 9 people inside that tent already.
Yeah. And everything was left quite neatly.
Yeah.
And they left their clothes, basically.
Is it
They knew
literally-
they would die.
Is it literally as big as the tent that the Weasleys have at the Triwizard Tournament?
I guess so. It's like a
Because
TARDIS.
this doesn't make any sense if there's 9 people and all their stuff stacked neatly, and if the tent is so savagely ripped it looks like only a big animal, I'm assuming, could do that. So how did a big animal get inside that tent?
Well, they said it was cut with a blade, but there's multiple blade multiple slashes.
How do they know it was cut with a blade, though?
You can tell from how the fibres are. Like a clean
how
cut
clean it is.
or jagged.
I guess you wouldn't get that from, like, a bear's paws. I wonder what animals are in the area. Maybe I should just get off the fact that it could be an animal.
Well, there's definitely bears, we know that.
Is there any moose?
Well, they don't have claws.
No, but they have antlers.
Oh, that's true.
Someone sharpened it up on a tree and made a perfect knife point. Mooses are dangerous as well.
Yeah, they are
we
scary.
Literally, funnily enough, we literally talked about
were
this
just
before we
talking about
pressed
it.
record, and the death rates if you get attacked by a moose is quite high because there's not much people that come out unscathed. Like, the injury rate is really low and the death rate is really high.
They are huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
so if it comes for you, you don't get out alive. But I don't think it was a moose.
I don't know if they do have moose in the Urals. I'm not sure. Well, they have reindeer, but
What do you say is a plural for moose? Mooses or meese?
is it not just moose? Like fish?
I always want to say meese.
Meese?
Because I like mice.
A herd of meese. That makes them sound so ridiculous.
I know. Oh, that's just me. What would a Spooky and Kooky episode be without a good tangent?
Exactly.
Let's break this up with some tangents.
Clearly, we have a bit of a moose obsession. I swear we've talked about moose on here before.
Probably. I find them terrifying. Aren't they like 9 foot?
Yeah.
That's what really gets me, because
I
their
didn't
legs
realise.
are huge.
It's-
If that
yeah.
comes hurtling towards your car, even if you're in a big 4x4, even if you're in a Cybertruck, which are death traps
Do you think
anyway,
they're
but
like from another world? Because they look like, you know, when you used to fold up bits of paper and like one of you would draw the head of it, one of you would draw the body, one of you would draw the legs, and then you
Yeah.
put it all together. That's a moose. That's meese.
I don't think they come from another world, but they are terrifying still.
They are just the weirdest creatures. Why
Yeah.
is their nose so big? Like,
And the sound they make as well is really
yeah,
disconcerting.
it's very guttural.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Because I was talking about me and Kieran kind of have a dream that we want to live in rural Canada
yeah, nice.
in a log cabin. But then we were talking about bears, and I was like, well, you know, you can get bear spray. Like, other locals deal with bears.
Yeah.
That geezer beat one up. But then we were talking about, but moose. Meese.
Those meese.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
meese
what
are
do you
a bit
deter a
trickier.
moose with? I
You
guess
don't
they
have
don't.
meese spray.
No, well, you won't want to get close enough for that, would you?
No. Because I think they are aggressive as well. They're not just
During
like...
mating season.
Jesus.
I don't know when that
The
is.
testosterone that must be in that.
Yeah. That's why they're flipping cars and shit. Raging out.
Do you know,
Roid rage.
I don't know why, like, I find some ways to die so embarrassing, but if, like, I died by getting my car flipped over by a moose, and they had to talk about it at my funeral, put it on my death certificate, I would just be so embarrassed. Like, great, my death's become a joke.
Do you know what I also get self-conscious about? When I'm listening to something in my car and I think, if I died now and this was still playing...
Yes!
like my Mac.
Yes! Do you know, when I crashed my car, Helen knows the story, I won't go into all of it, but I was driving down the road, happy as Larry, listening to Katy Perry's Birthday. Make it like your birthday every day. Had it up loud, just cruising along, and I had a head-on collision. It was my fault.
It was me.
And the first thing I did was shut the radio off.
Yeah.
I was in shock, but I just instinctively was like, I can't.
That's
Because the man
embarrassing.
got out the car to try and, well, shout at me, not help me out, but I didn't want him to be, like, yelling at me, and then I'm just like...
All you could hear is Katie.
Yeah. Or I just thought, oh my god, I'm so glad I'm not dead and just in the car, like... And then it's just Katy Perry blasting out. Like, that's embarrassing, and the news would report it.
I don't think they would, because
They'd
surely...
say victim found with Katy Perry's birthday song on.
Maybe people would think that would be your favourite song as well.
I
so-
know, that's what I was just about to say, because I'm not even a huge Katy Perry fan.
I always joke
Just on
with
the
Rich
radio.
that I would troll him if he died before me and play Ed Sheeran at his funeral and make out that he's like the biggest Ed Sheeran fan.
That would be one of the worst things that you could do to piss me off.
So insulting, even in death.
Yeah, because I've got a bit of a funeral playlist going.
You never
just
know
in
when you're going to
case.
need it.
You never know. But I always think as well, like I was just saying about the moose thing, I always get really scared of being hit by a car and, like, flipping over the windshield, because that's just an ick.
Yeah, it is, to be fair.
Like, literally going onto the windshield, I would get down, even if my back was broken, I'm getting up and walking away and being like, no, it's fine.
But don't you think
It's
it's
fine.
also embarrassing if the airbags went off? Because then you're like,
Yes.
oh my god.
Or when you... or if you suddenly jolt in the car, like, your body does that little jolt. It's such an ick. Honestly, I just... There's so many times that I just think in my life, like, I am such an ick. But that, if I died or got in an accident
To
like that, I
Katy
just
Perry.
couldn't. If I got flipped over the windshield, I think I would actually just be like, just roll over me. Just do it.
Just leave me here. I'm not worth saving at
Out
this
my
point.
misery. Like, this is so embarrassing. We should do an episode, the most embarrassing ways to die.
Dumb ways to die.
Yeah. Is that insulting? Is that insensitive?
No, they do loads of dumb ways to die.
There's no limits on this pod.
Because there must be some kind of thing, because I always used to sing dumb ways to die. So it must be a thing somewhere.
No, there definitely is. And there was a show on Netflix that I used to watch called 1,000 Ways to Die.
Oh, yeah.
And there were some really dumb ways on that. But I come across TikToks sometimes, like the worst way to die, or like the most stupid way to die, just stupid death. So that would be a really kooky episode.
That's actually such a good idea.
I'm brainstorming.
That's such a good episode. That'll be jokes.
Okay, we're back from the tangent. I'm so sorry I took us on that. Oh, comment down below what your most embarrassing way you could die is, because I would laugh at them so hard. And if we do that episode, we can bring in people's comments. So please comment.
Please.
We just want to know.
Oh, there's so many things. Okay. Oh, my mind's still going on the tangent, but I'm just going to try and snap it back. The next day, search teams concentrated their efforts around the tent. Further down the slope, they uncovered the next clue: footprints. Roughly 15 to 20 metres from the tent, tracks were clearly visible in the snow. Bare feet, without shoes. At first, the prints ran side by side, as if the group had calmly walked together. Then they split off in different directions. Some later accounts suggest the hikers fled in terror, driven by some unknown force. But Slobstov, one of the searchers, noted the footprints told a different story, one of deliberate movement, not panic. They had walked, not run, away from the tent. Following faint tracks etched into the snow, the search team descended the slope and made their first grim discovery: the bodies of Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko. Both were found beneath a towering cedar, nearly a mile from the tent. Their clothing was sparse. Krivonishenko wore only a checked shirt, torn white underpants and trunks. Doroshenko had on a t-shirt, a checked shirt, padded pants and shorts. I really want to know what padded pants are.
I'm guessing they're the ones you go skiing in.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Like, really, like a coat, basically, but for your legs.
Okay. Nearby, remnants of a fire suggested they had managed to ignite a blaze using cedar bark and fir branches, an act of desperate survival. Later that same day, just 1,000 feet from the cedar, the frozen body of Igor Dyatlov was found. He had collapsed near a small birch tree, facing the direction of the tent, as if trying to return. Though dressed more warmly than the others, he lacked critical winter gear: no hat, no gloves, no shoes, no undershirt, and no jacket. Further uphill, 350 metres from Dyatlov, lay Zina Kolmogrova. Her body was curled on its side, knees drawn to her chest, arms bent and raised towards her face.
Fetal position kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. She was better dressed than Dyatlov, but still missing essential items: no jacket, no gloves, and no shoes. The discovery of the 4 bodies sent a wave of devastation through the rescue team. Over the following days, they combed the snow with painstaking care, searching for any sign of the remaining hikers. Then, on the 5th of March, 6 days after the initial finds, they uncovered another body: Rustem. Like Dyatlov, he was found facing the tent, suggesting he too had tried to make a final futile return to warmth and safety. All 5 bodies were airlifted to Ivdel for autopsy, leaving behind more questions than answers. The search dragged on, days bleeding into weeks, with no sign of the remaining 4 hikers. Meanwhile, forensic expert Vozrodeny conducted autopsies on the 5 bodies recovered so far. Each showed signs of trauma: cuts and bruises scattered across their faces, noses, eyebrows and cheeks. More troubling were the injuries to their hands: abrasions on the knuckles and backs of the palms, which all screams altercation to me.
Defence wound type things, yeah.
Yet, under the watchful gaze of party officials, Vozrodeny attributed the wounds to simple falls. The official verdict, death by hypothermia. Whispers began to circulate. Had the group turned on one another? Investigator Lev Ivanov worried that such rumours might be used to bury the truth, and he wasn't about to let that happen. Ivanov handed out packets of photographic paper to the search team, urging them to print every image they could. When questioned, he said the photos needed to reach families, fellow hikers, anyone who might listen. He feared the narrative was already shifting, that blame would be laid at the feet of the victims, and this was his attempt to push back.
That makes no sense that they would have turned on each other, because you would think one or two, or however many turned on the others, would then be alive. Because if you turn on the others and kill however many people, how are you now dead?
Well, they wouldn't last long out there with no clothes on, basically. But they walked calmly, so the distance from the tent to the woods, which I'll get into later, but it was an hour.
And if there was an altercation, it would have happened by the tent.
Yeah, so why walk calmly and then have an argument when you get to the woods? Look, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, that narrative is not.
It's just odd. Meanwhile, officials tried to deflect growing scrutiny by arranging for the hikers to be buried far from their hometown, hundreds of miles away. But the move backfired. Outrage ensued, and under mounting public pressure, the authorities were forced to bring the bodies home.
Why would that help?
They just thought they could make it quietly go away. But what family is going to let that happen?
I feel like it would more quietly go away if you just buried them by their family.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you have to make it go away and then make it a bigger thing than it is.
Honestly, they make themselves look so suspicious in this case. So suspicious. Back in the city, grief gave way to suspicion. People demanded answers. How could 9 experienced hikers perish so mysteriously in the wilderness? And why was the military so evasive? The funerals became acts of quiet rebellion. Thousands gathered in solemn procession, a public display of mourning and defiance. Attendees recalled the presence of the KGB agents watching from the edges. Their gaze a chilling reminder. Someone, somewhere, didn't want the truth to surface. And because they went so hard to try and make it go quiet, it turned into this massive event. And I think it was televised, like it was a procession. It was huge.
That's not a normal funeral either, so
everyone went. Yeah. With the theories piling up and contradictions mounting, investigators could only hope that the discovery of the final 4 bodies might offer clarity. But instead, it would only deepen the mystery. 3 months after the tragedy, the thawing snow finally gave way to a breakthrough. A Mansi native, while out with his dog, noticed a trail of cut branches just 150 metres from the cedar tree, deliberately arranged as if pointing somewhere. Nearby, he found scraps of clothing, sliced cleanly as if by a knife. The search team quickly zeroed in and began digging. Beneath over 10 feet of compacted snow, they uncovered a crude den. Branches had been laid to form a makeshift floor, but the hikers were nowhere in sight. Using avalanche probes around the area, the team soon located Lunda Dubinina, buried 12 feet deep in a narrow ravine, collapsed over a natural ledge. Close by lay the final 3, Alexander Kolevatov, Nikolay Thibault and Semyon Zolotaryov. Their bodies were huddled together, perhaps clinging to one another for warmth in their final moments. Zolotaryov was clutching a notebook. The search team rushed to take it, hoping to find a clue as to what happened, but every page was blank inside. Which is odd, isn't it?
Why would you clutch a notebook that has nothing in it?
Yeah. The bodies were carefully retrieved and transported to the evacuation point, but not without hesitation. Rumours of radiation and military involvement had already begun to swirl. The helicopter pilots, fearing radiation poisoning, refused to carry the corpses until they were sealed in zinc-lined coffins.
Was it officials who found the notebook first?
Just the members of the search team. I don't know who was
Okay.
part of it, but
'Cause
there
I was
were
thinking
officials.
If it's investigators, could they have ripped the pages out that actually had the narrative on?
Possibly, I
and
don't
just been
know.
like, it was blank.
There's no in it. Their move suggested that even senior officials were growing suspicious. Can you imagine? You're like, even as you're working for the government, and
Yeah.
even you are like,
This is
"Ooh,
shady. Yeah,
I think
yeah,
my
yeah.
own government is doing something." Then came the autopsies, and with them a cascade of disturbing revelations. Tabot, dressed more warmly than the others, had suffered a catastrophic blow to the right side of his skull. The fracture was so severe, the examiner stated it couldn't have been result from any fall.
Well, that's not hypothermia.
It resembled trauma caused by a high-speed collision, like being struck by a car. Kolevatov, also relatively well-dressed, was missing his boots. He bore a strange wound behind his right ear and a deformed neck, particularly around the thyroid cartilage. The examiner offered no real insight into these injuries, simply listing hypothermia as the cause of death. But to me, it sounds like strangulation. This guy was strangled.
I don't understand how they can claim that that's hypothermia.
Yeah, I know.
Because even if the cause of actual death is hypothermia,
There's still been foul play.
a manner of death
Yeah.
should be suspicious, if not homicide.
Yeah. Zolotaryov, the oldest of the group, wore base layers, ski trousers, and a jacket with the top buttons undone. His face had decayed badly, likely due to the stream that he was found in. But it was the crushing trauma to his chest that stood out. Multiple ribs were fractured, and blood had pooled in the pleural cavity. The injuries occurred whilst he was still alive, and the examiner concluded that his death was the result of violence. Luda's body was perhaps the most haunting. She wore fire-damaged ski trousers and 2 jumpers, one of which had been torn and wrapped around her feet in place of missing boots. She lay face down in melting snow, her eyes gone, her tongue missing. The examiner attributed the facial decay to water exposure, but offered no explanation for the missing tongue. Like Zolotaryov, Lunda had suffered a devastating chest injury. Her ribs were shattered, and the force was so intense it punctured her heart. The official cause of death: massive hemorrhage to the right ventricle, bilateral rib fractures, and internal bleeding. The trauma was consistent with a high-force impact, possibly a fall or being thrown. The forensic conclusions only deepened the mystery, with little to go on and speculation mounting around secret military tests. Lead investigator Ivanov ordered the hiker's clothing to be tested for traces of radiation.
I am coming up with different theories, and then another injury comes out, and I think, but how would that occur?
Exactly, this is the thing, they're all...
Because I'm thinking,
Together.
was there like a high power blast if she was like thrown?
Yeah.
But then how is her tongue missing? Because someone has to manually remove that, surely. It doesn't just decay in the snow.
No. Yeah, like eyes make sense because especially if you're in running water, but even if there's like predators, I know that they go for that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
your tongue?
And she was face down.
Yeah.
So it's not like a predator had flipped her over and gone for that.
Yeah.
So it must have happened when she was still alive,
Yeah.
which is weird.
I know. Among the most compelling pieces of evidence recovered were the cameras. One found inside the tent, another on Zolotaryov, along with several rolls of undeveloped film. But none have stirred as much speculation as the infamous 34th frame. Experts have ruled out the possibility of a flare. This was a genuine photograph, just blurred, likely due to the speed of the object captured. It appears the hikers managed to snap an image of something hurtling through the sky, too fast to focus, and some believe this was the catalyst for everything that followed. It was the final photo taken before their deaths, and for many it's proof that what happened on Dyatlov Pass was no accident. But that raises a troubling question. If something did terrify them enough to flee into the night, barefoot and undressed, why didn't they come back once the danger had passed? Why abandon their tent, their boots, their coats, everything that could have kept them alive? Whispers of strange lights in the sky, cryptic photographs, and covert military experiments began to ripple through the region. Just 2 weeks after the Dyatlov tragedy, Vladislav Karelin and his team were trekking through the Urals, not far from the infamous pass, when they witnessed something uncanny. In the early hours of the morning, as one team member prepared breakfast, he suddenly shouted for the others to come outside. They scrambled from their tent in sleepwear, only to see a glowing sphere streak across the sky before vanishing behind the tree line. Could Karelin's sighting validate the hiker's controversial photograph, proof that the object wasn't imagined? Years later, Karelin watched a rocket launch on television and felt a jolt of recognition. That was it. That was what he had seen in the mountains. Some Dyatlov researchers now argue that military rocket tests are the most plausible explanation, suggesting that ammunition may have been trialled in the area at the time. But even if Dyatlov's group saw something similar, would it really have triggered such a frantic escape, barefoot, undressed, and without supplies? The fact they had time to photograph the phenomenon suggests it wasn't an immediate threat. And let's be honest, if something terrifies you enough to make you bolt in the snow, are you really going to stop and snap a picture of it first?
Yeah, maybe they were settled in their tent and something was happening and they thought, should we go outside and have a look? And then as they were looking and snapping the picture,
there were people there.
It just got worse. Like the threat got worse.
Oh, maybe.
And then they took off because they're already out the tent. Because they might have just been like, let's just poke our heads out and see. Or they're already ready for bed, so they're somewhat undressed, somewhat comfortable. They had a fire going. They go outside their tent, and then whatever is up there, they spend some time being like, what the hell is that? And then as the threat grows, they just scarper because they're like, there's no time for anything.
Yeah.
And they don't think, they're just in flight or fight, and they just go.
That's very true. Or even, I never really considered that they could have witnessed the rocket launch, been outside like you say, because when Karelin's team saw it, they went out in their underwear basically.
Built different.
Yeah. And then they saw like military personnel or something, and then they were like, oh shit. But then they walked, they didn't run.
And I don't understand why they would die because of that.
The injuries. If they were pursued, they wouldn't have walked.
Yeah, and even if like they saw something they weren't meant to, officials are just going to take you out.
Just shoot you.
Yeah, they're not going to take out your tongue. Unless they were like, we need to make this as weird as possible.
Yeah.
Take out the tongue.
That's true. That's just the little
cherry on top.
But the autopsy reports showed no sign of missile-related trauma, and no burns, no blast injuries. And the search teams found no debris, no craters, no evidence of an explosion.
So it's more likely if it's related to that, they saw something they shouldn't have done.
Yeah, or it's just a red herring completely.
Yeah.
Strangely, 2 of the bodies recovered from the ravine showed elevated levels of radiation, an anomaly that offered no clear explanation. For lead investigator Lev Ivanov, the puzzle only deepened, and the investigation was slipping beyond control.
I'm sure you're going to get to this, but this really reminds me of, I can't remember his name, I believe his name was John, in Rendlesham Forest, where he got radiation.
That was the one we talked about in the pod.
Yeah, the one you brought in.
With his eyes.
That really reminds me of it, because he got radiation sickness, so that was from possible alien craft. And the animal mutilations where I'm pretty sure their tongue gets removed, don't they?
Yeah. It's given alien.
It's giving alien or weird government shit that they also do to animals and also do radiation related activities.
radiation-related activities.
Because this was in 1950s?
Yeah.
You said?
Yeah, 59.
And I believe that's when the Soviets
Cold
was
War.
in, and the space race, and also the nuclear arms race. So there could be nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
That they're using. But there's no blast impact. You would get blast impact. Unless they saw something they shouldn't have done. And they were like, we need to make this look weird.
Yeah.
No one's going to suspect us taking out our tongue.
Yeah, literally. Maybe they thought, we can blame this on the natives.
Yes, because that does look a bit like, they could be like, they've got weird rituals that we don't really understand.
Savages, that classic,
Yeah.
like, stereotype. Maybe that's it. Yeah. Faced with mounting speculation and public distrust, the Soviet authorities intervened. Ivanov was summoned back to headquarters and instructed to shut the case down. He complied, accepting the official line without protest. The final conclusion? The hikers had succumbed to an unknown compelling force, a phrase as cryptic as the case itself, and with that, the criminal investigation was abruptly closed. No further inquiries were made. The bizarre injuries, the radiation, the inexplicable behaviour, all left hanging in silence. More than 3 decades later, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Dyatlov Pass case resurfaced, with the original investigation files finally made public. Long-buried inconsistencies began to surface, casting fresh doubt and reigniting speculation. One of the earliest explanations offered was an avalanche, but that theory quickly unravels under scrutiny. For starters, an avalanche powerful enough to drive the hikers from their tent would have obliterated the entire campsite. Yet the tent was only lightly covered in snow, and the skis and poles used to support it remained upright and undamaged. In a true avalanche, those would have been snapped like twigs. There were no reports of avalanche activity in the area before or after the event. No signs of tree damage, no debris scattered across the slope, and crucially, avalanche victims typically die from asphyxiation, yet none of the autopsies revealed any evidence of that.
So no evidence in the area of an avalanche, no evidence that the area even has avalanches. I know that's not, they could have had a freak one, but none of the victims' remains even say that, so it's,
we can rule
that's
that
a
out.
nothing burger, as they say.
Yep. Another persistent theory surrounding Dyatlov Pass is that of government cover-up. Fueling this suspicion is the curious detail that the criminal case appears to have been opened before the hikers were reported missing. The case file's cover is dated 6th of February 1959, yet the group wasn't expected to check in until the 12th at the earliest. How can an investigation begin nearly a week before anyone knew something was wrong? To many, this discrepancy suggests foreknowledge, evidence that the authorities were aware of something sinister and sought to bury it. But a closer look at the case file reveals a more mundane possibility. One document, clearly based on an interview conducted in March, was mistakenly dated 6th of February. That erroneous date was then copied onto the front cover, creating the illusion of premature action. A simple clerical mistake, yet one that has fueled decades of speculation and conspiracy.
I was going to say, is it possible they just mistyped it or miswrote it? Like, this happens all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, so another red herring, that one. Criminologist Natalia Sakharova has pored over the original Dyatlov case files and uncovered troubling inconsistencies, starting with the tent. At the time, investigators concluded the tent had been slashed from the inside, a detail that steered them away from any theory involving an external attack. But Natalia isn't convinced. Photographs show not a single incision, but multiple tears, more like a tent violently shredded than calmly cut. To test this theory, Natalia replicated the material and conducted her own experiments. When sliced from the inside, the fibres flared outward. Yet in the original photos, no such outward-facing fibres are visible. Her conclusion? The damage likely came from the outside. If investigators had already dismissed the possibility of an attack, could that assumption have skewed their interpretation of everything else that followed? Natalia believes so, and based on autopsy protocols and the nature of the injuries, she's confident in her assessment. This wasn't a tragic accident, it was murder. Ken Holmes, a veteran of Marin County Coroner's Office in California, where he served for 36 years, including 12 as the elected coroner, has lent his expertise to this case. He believes the autopsies were likely conducted with care, but strongly disputes the conclusions drawn for at least 7 of the hikers. The extent of their injuries, he argues, rules out any accidental fall, certainly not from standing height, and definitely not from simply stumbling in the snow. Holmes suggests that officials at the time may have deliberately downplayed the incident, framing it as a tragic accident to avoid deepened scrutiny. Another compelling perspective comes from Mick Fennerty, a retired FBI special agent. He suggests that the most straightforward explanation is that the hikers were forced to flee their tent. There's no other logical reason they would abandon their boots or fail to return, knowing full well that the exposure would be fatal. The nature of their injuries, he adds, makes the idea of accidental death increasingly unlikely. He agrees that this was murder.
I mean, it's quite obvious.
It's 100% murder. Take Zolotaryov and Dubinina, for instance. Both sustained catastrophic chest trauma. The positioning of their bodies ruled out a shared impact event. Zolotaryov's wounds suggest he may have been lying down when something struck him, perhaps a heavy object or a deliberate stomp. The location of the damage high on the chest near the collarbone implies he was motionless at the time. Dubinina's injuries are more severe. Her ribs shattered with such a force that fragments pierced her heart. Experts say this level of trauma is consistent with a high-speed car crash or fall from over 50 feet. Now, that is some fall. And there was nothing of that height, nearby. Then there's the matter of her missing eyes and tongue. While the eye damage could be explained by prolonged exposure to the stream where her body was found,
I've not heard that happening to anyone else unless it's animal related.
I think because it is soft tissue, it just decays a lot quicker.
But in the cold?
Yeah, but it's still running water.
Yeah, I
which
guess so.
We know definitely increases.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that it does happen and I just haven't heard of it. Because obviously I'm not an expert on the subject, so why would I have heard of it?
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't...
Yeah.
It's just weird.
But the tongue...
Yeah, the tongue is odd. Because they've taken the tongue as well, you know they've taken the eyes.
There can't be one without the other.
Because that would just be like, oh, we're going to take your tongue, and
but
your
that's
eyes
quite
just came out naturally.
Well, taking the tongue is quite that's something you would see in a spy film or something.
It's literally taking your voice.
Some sort... I don't know. I know what I'm saying in my head, but trying to get the words out is just not coming out. But that is like it's a mob act. You speak out against me and we take your tongue out or something like that. It's just weird.
It's not even like in torture scenes where they cut the fingers.
Yeah, take the fingernails off.
It's not just going to take your tongue.
It's just bizarre, isn't it? But there was blood discovered in her stomach, so it suggests that she might have been alive when it was removed. Which, again, was it cut out?
It's so sinister.
Yeah. Tabo was discovered in the same icy stream as Dubinina and Zolotaryov, but with one striking difference, a severe fracture to his right temple. The autopsy report itself dismissed the possibility of a simple fall causing such trauma, and the nature of the injury suggests his head wasn't supported at the time of impact, implying he wasn't lying down or bracing himself. Was he struck mid-motion? The force and angle hint at a deliberate blow. Kolevatov, the fourth body recovered from the stream, bore a deep wound behind his ear, an unusual and unsettling injury. The autopsy also noted damage to his neck, which raises disturbing possibilities. And again, to me, strangulation, surely.
Yeah.
The first victims found were, as I said, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonyshenko, discovered near the cedar tree. And they both had abrasions and bruises on their face. But Doroshenko also had bruising on his inner arms and armpits, which could suggest he was restrained. Krivonyshenko's injuries included swollen knuckles and fingers and a burn on his left hand. But what's puzzling is that aside from the burn, neither sustained life-threatening wounds. So why didn't they try to return to the tent? What kept them away?
Could the burn be from the fire?
Oh, I think
then
the burn is from the fire.
Yeah, so it's not like someone inflicted it on him. That's
No.
what I'm saying. And the other wounds could be defensive, because I think the burn, it just makes me go back to the torture thing. But then there's a perfectly innocent explanation of how he could have got the burn without it being nefarious.
Yeah, because
Obviously something nefarious has happened.
Yeah. I guess if you think they're so cold, they probably lost feeling in their hands and feet would be first. So he probably got too close to the flame and burned himself without even knowing. So Rustem, found 500 metres from the cedar, who did look like he was trying to make his way back to the camp, also had bruising to his face and legs, along with damaged knuckles, which also suggests he might have been in a struggle. Zena, who was 600 metres away from the cedar tree, also had facial bruising, but also she had a 30 centimetre long contusion that stretched across her back and kidney area, which would have winded her. And her knuckles were bruised on both hands, hinting at a violent struggle. Igor too was in the direction of the tent, and he also had bruising on the knuckles and discoloration around his wrists and his ankles. So was he restrained?
He's either been restrained or bound.
Exactly, and he's the group leader.
Yeah.
So that if you were going to start with someone, you'd start with him.
And you would need to restrain him.
Yeah. It's difficult to construct any plausible scenario that accounts for the sheer range and severity of these injuries, especially given how far apart the bodies were found. Even if there had been a fight within the group, it's unlikely that every single member would have been involved, as in between themselves, and it doesn't explain the signs of restraint. To me, the only explanation that fits is the presence of others. Someone or something else was there.
100%.
Yeah. One element of the Dyatlov case that continues to puzzle me is the light reported in the sky. Karolin and his team remain convinced that rocket activity was somehow involved, yet no physical evidence of an explosion was ever found at the site. Their theory extends to the possibility of chemical exposure, something that may have affected the hikers but left no trace by the time the bodies were recovered. But interestingly, the autopsy reports make no mention of damage to the lungs or throat, so can we assume this means they were undamaged? If a chemical agent was involved, it raises another question. Why did the hikers appear to walk calmly for nearly an hour before chaos erupted, resulting in violent injuries documented in the reports?
Undressed and everything.
Yeah. It's plausible that the Soviet military was conducting rocket tests over the Ural Mountains, remote, isolated, and ideal for secrecy. But despite the circumstantial fit, I don't think this explains what happened on the Dyatlov Pass. Then there's the radiation, another confounding piece of the puzzle. Of the 4 hikers found in the ravine, Lunda and Kolevatov were wearing clothing that tested positive for radiation. Some have taken this as evidence of military-grade weapons or experimental technology, but if that were the case, why wasn't radiation detected on any other member of the group? The most contaminated item was the jumper Lunda was wearing, which actually belonged to Krivonyshenko, found earlier near the cedar tree. It's likely she took it after his death, either for warmth or survival. But that detail only deepens the mystery. Where did the radiation come from in the first place? Now, this is a little 2 for 1 because this is another conspiracy that it brings up. Krivonischenko had been employed at a nuclear facility that just 18 months prior was the site of one of the most catastrophic nuclear accidents in history, the Kishtim disaster. Have you
Never
ever
heard of that?
Exactly.
I was going to say Chernobyl.
Kishtim. The
That's
first one
obviously
of
not in
its
Russia,
kind.
but yeah.
Yeah. At the time, it was the largest nuclear event the world had ever seen, and today it ranks as the 3rd worst, yet astonishingly, it remains largely unknown to the public. And that's because the Soviet regime went to great lengths to suppress all information surrounding the explosion.
That doesn't surprise me, really.
Yes. In 1957, mere days after the blast, hundreds of villagers succumbed to radiation poisoning, and over 10,000 people were evacuated from the surrounding area. Given the novelty of nuclear technology at the time, it's likely that the cleanup crews, including Krivonischenko, were ill-equipped and unprotected against the fallout. The second trace of radiation came from Kolevatov's clothing. After graduating, he too joined a classified nuclear research facility in Moscow. It's entirely plausible that he either handled contaminated materials or simply wore Krivonischenko's irradiated jumper before passing it on to Lunda. But why was the military so deeply embedded in the investigation? Perhaps it had something to do with lead investigator Lev Ivanov's report to his superiors, which mentions strange aerial phenomena observed at the time of the incident. During the height of the Cold War tensions, any hint of unexplained activity, especially near nuclear personnel, would have been treated as a potential threat to national security, and the race for nuclear dominance was everything. Today, we can reasonably conclude that Krivonischenko and Kolevatov had legitimate exposure to radioactive materials. But from the Soviet perspective, they weren't just hikers, they were individuals with access to sensitive information, and that changes everything. One member of the rescue team recalled that Soviet authorities, gripped by Cold War paranoia, had instructed them to search for any signs that the hikers might have defected to America. The discovery of the final 4 bodies brought a grim sense of relief. It confirmed the group hadn't vanished as spies. But the situation took a new turn when investigator Lev Ivanov requested radiation testing. That posed a serious risk. Any mention of radioactive contamination could expose the Kishtim disaster, a nuclear catastrophe that the Soviet Union had worked so hard to bury.
They did a good job.
Yeah, I know. Such a revelation would have been devastating to Russia's image as a nuclear superpower. Years later, after the collapse of the USSR, Ivanov wrote openly about his experience. He claimed that when he reported his findings, unexplained lights in the sky, traces of radioactivity, he was given a single, unambiguous directive. Classify everything, seal the files, hand them over to a special unit, and forget it ever happened. From the Soviet government's perspective, the mystery had been resolved. The hikers hadn't defected, and the true cause of their deaths was irrelevant. But another theory, they just didn't care. Another theory suggests the military's involvement may have run deeper than mere containment. According to author Alexei Ratakin, whose book The Outlook Pass explores this angle, 3 of the hikers were allegedly KGB operatives on a covert mission to intercept a CIA cell. During the Cold War, the Soviets were known to plant radioactive materials in remote areas to mislead American intelligence, sending them on a wild goose chase.
That sounds safe.
Yeah, I know. Just bury it. Just bury it over there, it's fine.
They start having 3-eyed fish in that lake.
Ratakin claims that 2 or 3 members of the Dyatlov group were tasked with delivering radiation-tainted clothing to CIA agents and photographing the exchange. The group's composition raises eyebrows. Most were students of the Ural Polytechnic Institute, a known pipeline for Soviet military and nuclear research recruits. Semyon Zolotaryov, the oldest at 37, joined the expedition at the last minute. A decorated combat veteran, he later worked for Soviet secret police and had ties to a classified scientific facility in Moscow known as P.O. Box 3394. Krivonashenko, meanwhile, was employed at P.O. Box 404/10, the site of the Kishtim nuclear disaster in 1959. Kolevatov, another suspected operative, also had links to secretive research institutions. Ratikin argues that the group wasn't assembled by chance. Their backgrounds suggest a hidden agenda, one that may have been unknown to the rest of the team. At the start of the journey, all hikers carried cameras and journals, as evidenced by recovered photographs. Yet when Kolevatov's body was found, both his journal and camera were missing. If he was one of those operatives, what might those missing items reveal? But if not the military, then who else could have been in the Ural Mountains that night? The only known inhabitants of the region were the Mansi people, and at the time they were dismissed as suspects based on two assumptions: that the hikers had cut their way out of the tent from the inside, and that local villagers described the Mansi as peaceful. But we now know the tent was sliced from the outside, and while the Mansi did assist in the search, does that truly absolve them?
I don't think it does, but the fact that this isn't just something they do, they're not out here doing it to loads of people. Why would they pick this group of people to do this weird killing on?
Yeah.
And how would they do it? Because it sounds like it's a really brutal attack. A force of like falling 50 feet or being hit by a car.
I know.
I'm sure the Mansi people didn't have a vehicle.
No, but one cool thing, they did ride the reindeer. That's pretty sick, isn't it?
That is quite sick.
I know.
And if they're known as peaceful, they've never done it before or after. I don't know. I don't see it being them.
Yeah. But after all, history is full of cases where perpetrators insert themselves into investigations. The Barateryov family lived in a nomadic camp of yurts in the upper Vizai River. In one interview, Peter Barateryov claimed, "Mansi don't have a prayer mountain nowadays. I don't pray, and I don't know of a prayer mountain." Yet just 10 days earlier, his brother Nikita, living in the same campsite, stated, "Mansi Prayer Mountain is located near the Barateryov yurts, 30 kilometers in the upper Vizai River. There aren't any other sacred Mansi places." These conflicting accounts raise questions. We now know there were multiple sacred sites in the region. The Dyatlov group unknowingly photographed a sacred cave along their route. To the north stood Man Pupaner, the most revered Mansi site, where towering stone formations tell the legend of a shaman who turned invading giants into stone. And at Mount Otorten, the hikers' intended destination, similar stone pillars stand watch. In another interview, Pavel Barateryov insisted he never ventured near the mountain where the hikers were found. He said, "In winter, there are strong winds that make it impossible to go into the mountain. Even for us Mansi, it can be dangerous." Yet despite these claims, there were signs of human presence. A hunting trap known as a chum was discovered just meters above the tent. The search party photographed it, but still the Mansi denied hunting in the area. But physical evidence suggests someone was. That said, the presence of indigenous people doesn't automatically imply motive. Could the hikers have unknowingly violated sacred traditions, trespassed on forbidden ground, or are the Mansi entirely innocent, with the real culprits still unknown? Since the Dyatlov incident, there have been no documented cases of Mansi attacking Russians over sacred land, and personally I believe they weren't involved.
Yeah, I think if it was because they went accidentally on sacred land, someone's going to do it since. Someone would have done it before.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen again. I don't think
And
it's
if
a
it's
one
an
and done
accident,
kind of thing, if it's going to be that for the motive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they were peaceful, if it's an accident, like you say.
It just happens.
Do you know what's interesting, though? Those, like, sacred stones and caves and the stories of the giants. We know there's lots of ancient civilizations around the world that have, like, monolithic structures and sacred places that, if you believe in extraterrestrial involvement, these are the sites that have extraterrestrial involvement.
Yeah.
Typically. So that's just something interesting, not necessarily... I know where I'm leaning, and I'm not leaning towards alien, but I just think that's worth noting.
It is worth noting.
There are quite a few similarities between some... Like I said, the cow tongues, the Rendlesham Forest thing.
Oh, the radiation.
With radiation.
But we know that was Kishtim now.
Oh, yeah.
I did know that, but I didn't want to ruin your idea.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's aliens anyway. I'm kind of leaning towards a government cover-up.
Yeah. However, rumours circulated about 5 members of another indigenous group, the Khanty, living near the hikers' route. Unlike the Mansi, they were said to be hostile towards both Russians and neighbouring tribes. According to some Mansi accounts, the Khanty might have reacted violently to outsiders climbing sacred terrain, yet this lead was never properly investigated. 2 scientists believe they may have cracked the Dyatlov mystery thanks unexpectedly to the animated film Frozen. She would not think. Yeah.
I've never seen Frozen.
Have you not? Oh, I do like Frozen.
No.
The snow physics in the movie were so strikingly realistic that it sparked an idea, and the 2 scientists proposed that the hikers were struck by a rare and very specific type of avalanche, a delayed slab avalanche. Using advanced computer simulations and analytical models, they demonstrated how such an event could have been triggered by the hikers themselves. This kind of avalanche occurs when the denser, wetter snow at the base of the slope is disturbed, eventually causing the entire snowpack above to shift as one solid slab. So if you imagine 2 stacked books, you can tilt them and they'll both stay on top of each other until you get to a critical angle and one falls off. That's basically the principle at play.
How would the tongue come out? It all comes back to the tongue.
Avalanches can be triggered on slopes as shallow as 20 degrees, and the Dyatlov group had unknowingly pitched their tent on a 23-degree incline, having cut into the snow to create a flat surface for their tent.
Yeah.
The act may have initiated a chain of micro-disturbances, setting a silent countdown in motion. When the slab finally gave way, the group may have found themselves trapped beneath it, prompting a frantic escape by slicing through the tent fabric. Some of the injuries sustained, particularly the crushing trauma, align with the compact slab that would fall and inflict those injuries.
Yeah, maybe being thrown, that makes sense.
Although it wasn't snowing that night, the hikers' journals mention intense winds, likely katabatic winds, which cascade down slopes and accelerate rapidly due to gravity. These winds, detected by local weather stations, would have reached hurricane force.
Wow.
As winds blew snow onto the already unstable slab above the tent, the added weight may have pushed it past breaking point. This model, aided by Disney's snow animation algorithms, showed that even a small avalanche, just 5 by 5 meters, could have buried the camp. And crucially, it wouldn't have left obvious traces for rescuers, especially since the search team didn't arrive until 26 days later. Still, while this theory accounts for some of the physical trauma and the group's sudden flight, it doesn't explain the more bizarre elements, such as the missing tongue or the eerie behaviour patterns. The slab avalanche may be part of the theory, but it's not the whole picture.
Could the avalanche have been caused by missile testing?
It would have been a different kind of avalanche.
Oh, okay.
That would have been the more generic kind.
Yeah. It could have just happened as well. And yeah, it's just weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me because unless they're saying that they had 2 slab avalanches, one
at the tent,
and then one when they made the den.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense actually.
But if it was when they were in the den as well, surely firstly that's really unfortunate and unlucky, and I'm pretty sure that was quite a flat surface, so it wasn't like they were already on a slope with their tent and then they just cut it at the wrong angle. But if it crushed to puncture your heart, how have you moved out of there? You've got your way out and moved yourself away quite
Would they
far.
Calmly walk as well?
Well, that would be the
avalanche.
second incident. Yeah, well, as experienced hikers, they would know the worst thing you can do in an avalanche is to stay where you are.
Yeah, but would they calmly walk away?
Well, yeah, because they wouldn't be panicked because they've walked out of the danger.
Okay. I see.
But
maybe that's accounts for half of it, and then they met someone nefarious or stumbled upon something they shouldn't, and that's when the injuries happen. But they're saying the injuries are caused by an avalanche, and like you said, you can't walk an hour when you've got a punctured heart and shattered ribs.
Yeah. So if it happened in the second location, well, firstly, it doesn't account for the other abrasions and stuff, the defence runes on the others, and why they didn't get back to the tent.
Yeah.
Or because you'd think, fuck, we need to get something because I'm freezing to death right now.
No.
But they weren't found in that little den they made.
Like it ties it all up neatly in a bow, like they said that they solved it due to Frozen. I don't think you have.
No, I don't think you have. It's a nice try, but I don't know. I personally think that it could have been the military. It was definitely someone with firepower, and I don't know. It might not have been the Russian military. It could have been America.
Could have been.
But it was someone. I think to get them to be able to control a group of 9 people. You, for one, need firepower, and 2, you need some kind of tactics. Yeah. And then I think they were led down into the forest. Yeah. Whether they were tied up. I mean, we know they had bruises under the arms like they were being held.
Yeah, maybe.
And then I think that Dyatlov, as the leader, tried to break away. Yeah. And it caused a chain reaction of events. Others tried to also break away, and that's why the injuries were so savage. Yeah. Is because they had been defying. Yeah.
If it wasn't the Russian military, do you not think that they would release that and go down that narrative? Because if the American military did that to a group of 9 innocent Russians, that's going to fuel hatred towards America.
Yes, but they had a lot to lose themselves by publishing that, because then everything for Kishtin would have come out.
Right, okay, yeah.
If 3 of their people were KGB agents, that would have also come out, and it's not... We know that the Soviet Union was not very forthcoming.
So it's just better to sweep it under the rug, even if it was a different government.
Yeah, I would say so, if it were them and that were the case.
I'm leaning more towards the Russian government, if it's a government.
Are you?
Yeah.
But I never considered, actually, what you said about how they came out to see the lights. Yeah. And then that they might have encountered people from doing that. I never thought they might be related.
Then, like you said, they could have had firepower, and by that point they're already outside, undressed or semi-dressed.
Yeah, and just marched down to the woods.
Yeah.
And it probably makes sense that they would try and scapegoat the native people.
Yeah, definitely, because
they already didn't like them. I mean, they took all their lands and outlawed all their practices. Yeah. So
they're an easy scapegoat.
Yeah.
That's really sad, though, that happened to the 9 people. Obviously, they're young students.
Yeah. And they have a monument now with their plaques on and everything. And obviously it was named after Dyatlov, the Dyatlov Pass. But yeah, it's...
What was the Yeti connection?
Oh yeah, the Yeti connection. So,
I've been waiting for it.
So on their camera roll, on their camera roll was a picture that people thought was a Yeti. As soon as I saw it, it did not look like a Yeti to me. I'll show you it and you might think it is. That was the picture.
That looks like a person.
Well, especially when you look at this picture of one of the group.
Oh yeah, they're if I swear Yeti and Abominable Snowman, they're like a polar bear. Their fur's white from the snow.
Well, although polar bear's fur is not white.
Yeah, but it's in the snow.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. They would appear white.
Yeah, and we want to believe. Yeah. We want to believe the Bigfoot.
Maybe the scale.
I don't know if it was because it was that classic. It looked like the Patty. When was Patty taken?
Oh God, I should know this.
I can't remember.
But I don't know if someone's looked at the scaling and said, "Oh, this is too big to be a person," because some Bigfoot encounters, they scale it and then they're able to say if it could be a bear or not, or if it's too big to be a bear. I don't know if someone's done that because I don't understand how you can look at that and be like, yeah, it's Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
Because people are, I know you could look at it and be like, I don't know how you could scale it, but people are clever and they can do that. They can scale pictures, whatever they do. So I don't know if that's why, because that's a leap.
I don't know, because looking at where it comes up to on the tree doesn't look like it's very tall.
You would need to know the height of the tree though.
Yeah, but usually, I don't know. It looks to me
like a person, yeah.
Like a person.
So we can rule that out.
I think so. But when I saw that people thought it was Yeti, I was so excited.
Yeah, you were looking for it.
Yeah, I was wanting it so bad.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought there would be more of why they thought it was a Yeti.
No, it was literally just that picture. Wow. I mean, there might have been more, but there's so many theories to cover, and as soon as I saw the picture, I thought, you've lost me a bit there.
Yeah, no, that's...
But if you guys know any more evidence for why they think it is a Yeti, please do let us know, because I want to believe it. I want to believe it could be aliens. I want to believe that, but it seems like the issue was closer to home.
I'm pretty sure. We've got a Bigfoot episode, by the way, so if you haven't seen that one already, check it out. But I'm pretty sure the only aggressive variant of Bigfoot is the Yowie from Australia. From our research, I remember saying that one... I don't remember Yetis being violent.
No.
I guess from the injuries, you could say it was some type of animal, and a Yeti would definitely have that force.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have violent tendencies.
But unless they encroached its territory.
Yeah, but other people would have done that since. There's not been anything like this around the world.
People don't normally hike in this. People do go to the pass, like, in the summer. It's very nice in the summertime.
But around the world, people have Bigfoot and Yeti encounters aplenty. There's not been anything like this. So I think, again, like the Mansi people, it would be a pattern of behaviour, surely.
Don't scapegoat the Yeti as well.
Yeah, the Yeti doesn't need that.
Yeah.
It's already trying to prove that it's real. Doesn't need this on its
I think
plate
it's trying
to
prove it's not real, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Because that's so much better than us knowing we are shit species. Involved with us. Yeah. But that was it, and that was the case.
That is interesting. I'm going to have to... I might have a little research of that tonight to go deeper into it, but you know my kind of theory on it.
Yeah, I think it's similar to mine.
Yeah,
but the fact that...
conclusions.
I never heard of Kishtim.
No, that is shocking. What is the worst nuclear disaster? Do you know?
Chernobyl,
okay.
And then Hiroshima, and then Kishtim. Although I did look it up, and sometimes Kishtim was second and Hiroshima after.
Is Hiroshima even an accident? Like, they intentionally dropped a bomb, didn't they?
Well, it was Hiroshima, wasn't it? Or was it or not?
Or, I'm pretty sure... that because do you call that...
What was it called? Hold on. Nuclear disasters.
Top nuclear disaster. I guess, do you class an intentional one as a disaster?
It wasn't Hiroshima. Oh no. It was Fukushima.
I've never heard of that either.
Really?
No.
That's what I was thinking of.
I've only heard of Chernobyl.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of, but I said Hiroshima, and I did not mean that. And now I've made myself look stupid.
No, you haven't.
I'm so stupid.
Because I thought maybe they just put intentional acts in the lineup, but I thought that's not an accident.
No, Fukushima. So sometimes that's second, sometimes that's third. I don't know
How they measure it.
But it was bad.
Yeah.
And it was the first of
All
its
of them
kind.
are going to be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's so bad
covered
and
up.
people haven't heard of it
Yeah, that's crazy.
blew my mind when I came across that.
That's really interesting. I really enjoyed that. I hope people out there enjoyed it as well. As always,
Yeah.
give us a like and subscribe to support the channel. We're trying to grow this spooky and kooky community.
Universe. Get it out there.
Yeah. Get it out into the stratosphere.
Yeah, manifest the universe. We want it to be a universe of all like-minded souls, such
Spooky
as
and
ourselves.
kooky takeover.
Yeah, I mean, not even a takeover. It's just nice to know there's other people out there that
Who
are
have
just
weird
as
interests.
weird as us.
And as always, chime in the comments with your opinions, even if they differ to ours. It's always good to hear other points of view because it makes you think of something that you might not have thought of.
Yeah, please tell me it was EA. Give me your reasons for why,
Yes,
or UFO.
convince me. Change my mind.
But I'm thinking military for now.
Yeah.
Until otherwise.
Yes, definitely from just... Obviously, this is my first knowledge to the case, and I think it's probably that. So... But like I said, I will do more research on that because that's really interesting. And I imagine there's probably a whole podcast just dedicated to the Dyatlov Pass incident.
For sure, yeah.
Because you could definitely do a whole series on that, I'm sure. And each theory being an episode. But yeah, that's it for today.
Thanks for listening as always.
Yeah.
And
See you later.
see you later. Bye.
Spooky and kooky, mystery and wonder. Feel the magic under. Spooky and kooky.